Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Gatekeepers. I am Bishop-Elect Vanessa M Brown. I'm happy to be here. I'm your host and moderator for this evening. And we have a great show lined up for you tonight. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and shout out where you're from. We'd like to know which city you're from, which state you're in. We're very interested in that. We want to thank Facebook Live, and we want to thank Instagram, and want to thank YouTube and Twitter, and everywhere our platform is. We want to thank you all for participating, and we ask that you share now. Let people know that Beyond the Gatekeepers is here. We're back, and we want you to share where you're from. Right now, I see you all are already talking to me. I'm grateful. I see you, Esther, from California, Ann Taylor, North Carolina, Chella Belcher, Connecticut is here. Yes. Melissa McQueen Simmons, bless you, Pastor. North Carolina is in the house. Chauncey Cornegay is here. Columbus, Ohio is here. Hugh Patrick Hardeman is here. Louisville, Kentucky is in the house. Please keep sharing. Somebody that you know needs to be engaged in this conversation. We missed a week. We took a break, and so we're glad that to be back, and we're glad that you are back here with us. Pensacola, Florida is in the house, and we're so excited to share with you on tonight from this great author. Before we bring them on, California is still here, always represented. Reverend Rita Jackson is with us. Helena Reed, Philadelphia is here, and we're so glad. Keller, Texas. We were just talking about Texas before we got online. Keller, Texas is in the house. We're so glad that you're here. Share. with folks who need to be on the conversation. Again, you can find us on Facebook on the Beyond the Gatekeepers page, and also on Bishop Yvette Flunder's page. You can also find us on YouTube. And so we want you to say where you are from. Baker City, Oregon is here. Thank you so much. Rancho Cucamonga, California. I always have a hard time saying that. Mount Dora, Florida is here. Blessings to you, Bishop Joseph Devlin. Elder Lorenzo Brown, Rye, New York. Bless you, Elder Lorenzo. So glad you're here. We're sharing. We're letting other folks know that we're here so that we can move on with this conversation. I'm not going to delay the time any longer. Cleveland, Ohio is here. Thank you so much. New York City is here. New Jersey is here. Again, I see you, Dr. Quentin L. Robertson. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Philadelphia is here. Memphis, we were just talking about Tennessee. Memphis is here. Cincinnati, God bless you, Deacon Ryan. Glad that you are here. Baltimore, of course. Yes, of course, Baltimore is in the house. We couldn't have it any other way. And so I want to move on and bring on our guest tonight. Tonight we have Dr. Robyn Henderson-Espinoza, the founder and Activist Theology Project. The founder of Activist Theology Project. But the reason that I brought Dr. Robyn here is because Dr. Robyn has a book called Body Becoming: A Path to Our Liberation. And that is what we're going to discuss on tonight. So very happy to have you here, Dr. Robyn. We're going to give away a book tonight. We're going to give away 5 books tonight, according to Dr. Robyn. And so I'm very excited about that. You know what you have to do to get a book. You have to put hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Dr. Robyn, please say hello to our guest, our audience.
Hello there. Thank you so much, Bishop Brown. It's good to be here. Been waiting for this moment to be in conversation with the good people. And it's good to see that folks are coming in from all over the country. That's great.
All over the country and pretty soon all over the world. We know that folks get late coming on, but we have people from Canada, Africa, really Mexico, all over the world that join into these conversations. Certainly we can't go any further without bringing on our presiding bishop, Bishop Yvette A. Flunder. She's the presiding prelate of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, and of course the senior pastor, first and foremost, of City of Refuge United Church of Christ in Oakland, California. Bishop Flunder, will you please come and greet our audience tonight?
Well, good evening, everyone. It is always my joy and privilege to share with the expanded and expanding family, virtually all over the United States and world. And it is a particular joy of mine to bring Reverend Robyn to be in conversation. Reverend Dr. Robyn. Oh, what a joy. And also virtually the connection that makes her Reverend Dr. Robyn Henderson-Espinoza. And I am so glad that she is here, and the connection being that she has a wonderful spouse and partner both in trouble and partner in love and partner in ministry. How wonderful that is.
Yeah.
And both of them, we consider them family. We consider them offspring. We consider them branches of what it is that we are called to do, which is to make God known in ways perhaps beyond what most of us have heard of, have perhaps preached, have perhaps believed. And it's beautiful to have the freedom to say that God is greater and bigger and more accessible than what we perhaps have imagined before this day. And to have an opportunity to see God without God being stuck in a number of the pronouns and concepts and ideas and religious-based concepts that have made religion such an enemy to the greatness, the vastness of creation. So we have an opportunity to hear from someone who has, as we say sometimes, laid in, done the work, done the study, both in terms of the theology and application in their own body, in their own life, in their own experience. It is my joy to have Dr. Robyn with us tonight. I trust that we're going to have an informative and wonderful conversation. So welcome home, Dr. Robyn.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Flunder. I want to keep shouting out a few other states. I don't want anybody to get upset. Tyler, Texas is here. Richmond, Virginia is in the house. Covington, Georgia is here. Atlanta, Georgia is here. Tulsa, Oklahoma is here with us on tonight. Ohio is here. Peoria, Illinois is with us on tonight. Boston, Massachusetts is here. Dr. Robyn, like you said, we have people from all across the country. My first question to you, because I know that this book just recently came out, why did you write this book?
Well, let me first say that I was born in Longview, Texas, which is just a neighbor to Tyler, Texas. So I'm glad to see the good folks from the Piney Woods are showing up for this. I wrote this book. Why? Well, let me start here. When I set out to write this book, it was not a book on politics, but as I watched what was happening in 2020 and 2021, the story shifted. And, I've always tried to be counter hegemonic. I've tried to, and I have sort of marched to the beat of a different drummer that wasn't always accepted in white serving spaces or the institutional church. And so I really set out to write a book on embodiment. But as I watched the world really break down right in front of my eyes, first with the pandemic, then with countless uprisings, I think it was the Holy Spirit, quite frankly. I think the Holy Spirit told me that what we already know, what our ancestors already knew, that our bodies are sources of wisdom. And we might call that embodiment. We might call that maybe some other somatic wisdom. But when we live from the wisdom of our body, our cultural body or our collective body changes. So we can build worlds from the wisdom of our body. That's why I wrote the book, because I believe in another possible world. I'm deeply inspired by the Zapatistas in Chiapas, Mexico, not far from where my mother's family is from. And they are world building together in community. So this book is really how trans embodiment can imagine another possible world.
That's powerful, Dr. Robyn, particularly the statement you made, our bodies are our sources of wisdom. That is such a powerful statement. And I want to take the conversation a little further. First of all, thank you for writing the book. And thank God for the spirit that led you to write it. So many people need to read it. And so you say something and you talk about you are a theologian.
Yeah.
And
For,
so
for better
every
or worse, I'm a one-trick pony.
That's okay.
All my degrees are in theology. I'm sorry.
Right. That's fine. And but you talk about everything around you being theology.
Yeah.
Everything as it relates to your life, as
Yeah.
it relates to your activism.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that perhaps your faith has guided you through all of the facets in your life in becoming, because you are still becoming.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I like a lot of people, I think maybe who have tuned in, I had a really traditional kind of come to Jesus moment. first in Catholic school. My Mexican mother enrolled me in Catholic school. She thought that the church could be my best educator, and she told me that education was my way out, which many of our mothers have told us that education is the great equalizer, right? But when we get into higher education, we learn differently. But I was deeply shaped by Roman Catholic educators, and went to a Southern Baptist church in the piney woods of Longview, Texas, Macedonia Baptist Church. Had a come to Jesus moment. Took it very seriously, that I was to follow Jesus, and felt a call to ministry at 15. But because I was at a Southern Baptist church, that I must have heard God wrong. I've been gender nonconforming my entire life. I only came to the knowledge of queerness and transgender in my 20s when I was living in Chicago. When I was 16, I had an acute brain hemorrhage, had a brain aneurysm, and 2 surgeries to correct it. And, I learned the statistics that 9 out of 10 people don't survive the brain aneurysm, much less surgeries to repair it. And if they do survive it, there are great consequences. And I don't have any problems from the brain aneurysm. I have a few blind spots, so it might kind of be a medical miracle. I went off to college then to study theology after the church said that I wasn't welcome. And I found my home in the study of theology, because the church was not a place for me to flourish. And I had a distinct sense that the Holy Spirit was calling me to the vocation of theologian for the church. And so I studied theology as an undergrad, and then these 2 cis white Baptist ministers who were my professors told me that I should go study with a Latin American Baptist theologian up in Chicago. And, I was coming into my own racialization in college, the only Mexican American in my classroom. I was reading lots of women of color theorists, lots of decolonial theorists, as a 20-year-old. And so I went to study with Dr. Nancy Elizabeth Bedford. And the first question she asked me is, where do you go to church? And so I always knew that my work is for the church, but the church is not ready to hear what I have to say, what a lot of us have to say. And so we've had to carve out those spaces for us, which I did as a 20-something-year-old, having brunch in Chicago on Sundays, doing church at the dinner table with other LGBTQ folks, and then went off and did a PhD and did that and read all the things that I'm supposed to read and then some, and then took my first faculty post in Berkeley, California, and then the election happened in 2016, and I felt a call to move back home to the South, which is where I am now, and just trying to be faithful in the small things, just trying to steward my vocation as best as I can. I didn't sign up to be a public theologian. I didn't sign up to be a digital pastor. Didn't sign up to do any of that. And so I try to stay close to home, close to people, and roll deep in community, because it's real easy to get addicted to the applause. And celebrity culture is toxic, and I have no use for it. And so, like these book events that I'm doing in Seattle, they're all in community. They're all in conversation. I'm not doing one event on my own. And that's my requirement. I believe that the vocation of the theological community is where the Spirit roams, and we should be attentive to that. And so that's why I do theology.
That's amazing. I think, and I'm going to drop down to Bishop Flunder and just let her go. But I think the amazing thing is that you left church and found God.
Right.
You know, and I think that that's a whole bunch of people's testimony about how they left church to find God. And so, Bishop Flunder?
I think God left church to find us. You know, that's that's a whole other conversation. But what I think about a lot when I listen to and look at Dr. Robyn's work in many, many ways, and the work of some of their colleagues that are out there wrestling with these realities, the age-old questions are hard to respond to by many people. Age-old questions such as how is God both God, Christ, and Spirit at the same time? How does God have a Trinitarian nature about God's self, that God is not stuck even with a binary at all, if in so many ways? And we say that all the time. We say it in reference to the creation story, in our own image created, we, them. Who is the we? And who is it that the Creator God is speaking of when God says we? Most people in active conservative religion say it's not the angels, because the angels don't have creation power. That's one of the things that I've heard many times. So who is the we? And if it is God or the divine saying in some way that I have many facets, I'm not limited in that way, that speaks to, in so many ways, the way creation really works, the way identifying, to your point about race. And I've said, and I'll say again, race is a construct. It's another construct. And it is a construct because none of us, not any one of us hardly, are anything. We are a mixture of this and that, and we sort of identify with the group of people that we are most culturally connected to. But the truth is, humankind has been evolving in that way since the very beginning. And right now, the greatest farce is to suggest we have a binary in the United States. That's trash. We're not in any way clearly any one of those things, though we are many things and identify often with the thing we most feel connected to. And I say that in terms of race. Well, the same is true, I think, in relationship to sexuality. I think the same is, lots of things are different in our closets than in what it is we bring out before people. Just way different, right? But there's no real freedom in religion to say that, to say that we are beyond the binary. And something else that came up for me, we fear even the polytheism of God. We fear it. And I know we fear it because we go back and forth. We assign God to the Holy Spirit. We assign Jesus to God. We assign the Pope to being the incarnation of one of Christ's disciples, right? We do these assignments to try to see if we can get God packaged up in some proper way. And then we try to go back to the text, and the text beats us up over the head over and over again. So when God says, somebody said, well, God said that there's no God besides me. I am who I am. Yet I created we, them. It's all confusing, right? And how do we manage to do that? And let me end with this. I remember I was at a service for one of my trans-identified members who passed away. And there were 3 sections in the church. There was the mother of this person, the birth mother, and her constituency. In the middle section was the father of this person, who identified as she, by the way. And his crew was in the middle section, and his crew was staunch Pentecostals. The mothers were sort of borderline Baptists. And then there was a large presence of trans people, everybody sitting in a section. And they were giving each other the side eye. You understand the side eye, right? Getting prepared for the day. The father had insisted that his child be buried dressed as a man. The mother absolutely refused to let that happen. The father had insisted that he be given that she be given the birth name. The mother also did not permit that to happen. The mother wanted the name that the person lived with to be on the program. Okay. Then we had that part that happens in a Black funeral where folks get up and have expressions. You know, you have 2 minutes, you have 3 minutes. 2 minutes never works for 2 minutes, but you have 2 minutes, you have 3 minutes, whatever. And so people started proselytizing and having opinions and having ideas and having thoughts and sort of casting stones from all of the camps. The beautiful thing that I wanted to leave with you, Dr. Robyn, and to those that are listening tonight, is the mother stopped the whole conversation right in the middle of the funeral. She walked up to the microphone and essentially asked everyone else who was standing in line to speak to go sit down. And they did. And she said, I want to say, and I'm trying to paraphrase her. She said 2 things. She said, I lost my child. That's what she said. I lost my child. And then she said, I lost first my son and now my daughter. And she said to the folks, she said, none of you can feel what I feel today. So what I need you to do is understand this. I loved my son and I loved my daughter. I lost both of them. No one can grieve any more than I can. It shut the whole thing down. And thanks be to God, she said that before I came up to eulogize. I think the heart of what I am saying to all of us today is that not only is God greater than the binary that we have given God, but we are too. We are more than either or. All of us in some way are both and we should celebrate the way that mother did, all of who it is that we are. Thank you so much for letting me have a word, Bishop-Elect.
Thank you so much, Bishop Flunder. Such a powerful word, and the people on Facebook are loving. I want to say, first of all, we're giving away the book. The book is called Body Becoming. Pastor Sue, there we go. Body Becoming, A Path to Our Liberation. And you have to type the hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers, all one word, hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers, so that you can win a book on tonight. Before I ask Dr. Robyn this question, I want to shout out Far Rockaway, Oregon City, Oregon, Tacoma Park, Maryland, Tampa, Florida, Julia Dinsmore, Minnesota. So glad that you're all here. Paris, California is in the house. Minister Sandy Hudson. So many people are part of this conversation. And Bishop Flunder, again, we thank you for making it plain. Dr. Robyn, in the book, you write how you came to realize your socialization in the church and academy had been through neuronormative people. You're going to have to define that for us. Neuronormative people who did not understand your body, your mind, and had curated such a disconnection from your body. That's a powerful statement. Can you say more about that? How were you socialized in the church?
Yeah, and it's a great question because I grew up in Texas, and we were talking about how Texas kind of got its own culture going on. And I saw very clearly the gender disparity and the ways that little boys were being socialized and the way little girls were being socialized. And I just didn't feel like I fit in either category. And, I was going to Catholic school at the same time, and I would have to wear these awful uniforms. And I did not like the skirts because I just didn't feel like that was what I was supposed to wear. And, you know, I think one of the things that we have forgotten is that the hallmark of any community is the presence of the Holy Spirit. And I think the Spirit was guiding me in those early years. And the Spirit was leading me to a different vision for gender. And I really defied the norms of gender socialization. And in many respects, I still kind of follow a very transgressive gender orientation. And the church could not hold my complexities, is what I learned. But I believe the Spirit was always guiding me.
As a Latinx public theologian, tell me why it is that you feel it necessary to speak back into the church.
I don't think I caught that question. What was the question?
I'm sorry. As a Latinx public theologian, an activist, and scholar, tell me why you think it's necessary to speak back into the church.
Well, I think I, I have I have these Pentecostal inclinations because I believe so deeply in the Holy Spirit, and I've got this very sort of I believe that following Jesus is the thing that we need to be doing, and I think we can only do that in community. And I think theology belongs in the community. So, my wondering and my wandering is a question of how do we survive the end of empire? And I think the only way we can survive is by being in community.
Bishop Flunder, and I'm gonna ask this question, then ask Bishop Flunder to weigh in as well. As a non-binary body, a trans body, and a body in two races, I believe, and you'll tell us what those races are. Tell us more about a path forward, a body becoming and forging a path forward as the person that you identify as?
Well, I mean, all of that is true, what you said, and also I, I'm an adult on the autism spectrum, and so my brain works differently, and and I think it takes a diversity of tactics to get free. I think it takes all kinds of voices to steward the logic of liberation, and I think we can best do that in solidarity with one another. And I think we can best do that in community with one another. And I think my differences enrich community just as much as I think your differences enrich community. And I think that's the only way forward at the end of empire is to collect our differences and to be in relationship across lines of radical difference and to follow Jesus the best we can and let the Holy Spirit guide us.
Powerful. Bishop Flunder, I know you have some words.
I am reflecting again on one of our gatherings as TFAM when we had one of our many water baptism experiences. When you get a pack of Methodist together, at some point you have to have water baptism, and we had emergence water baptism in the hotel swimming pool that we commandeered, which we have done from time to time. And in this particular baptism, there was a female identified trans person, a trans woman, who I had baptized when she was born or early in her life, when she was identifying as a male. And so when we got to the water, I did with her what I have done many times with people when I'm baptizing them. What would you have me say over you at the time of baptism? And they said to me, I want to be baptized in who it is I believe myself to be now. Essentially, use my new name and my preferred pronoun. And it was such a joy for me to baptize her because it suggested to her and to all the rest of us that her completeness happened for her that day. It was like a new birth. It was a courageous new birth because it was many years ago now, as I think about it. But it was a new birth. And I'm beginning to think that one of the things, Bishop-Elect Vanessa, that we need to give some thought to is a fresh new water baptism at another one of the hotels that we'll be commandeering, perhaps in July and in 23, so that our gender nonconforming, gender choice and election, gender expression opportunities can be expanded again. And I would love to have Dr. Robyn in the water with me.
That would be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be outstanding?
Well, because I think that we're already trying to get Dr. Robyn to Phoenix with us anyway. So they're going to already be there. And that
let's
would be
commandeer a pool.
Let's work that out. Yes.
Yeah, let's commandeer a pool and let people make a public statement about who they really believe themselves to be and come to the water again. And let's see if we can speak by doing that what we really have come to believe and receive for one another.
Powerful, powerful. We're so excited. We're going to get ready to type the next question in for Dr. Robyn, but I'm going to say it out loud. But yes, Carmen, a fresh new water baptism is what Bishop Flunder is talking about. And we're so excited that we're going to have Dr. Robyn in Phoenix with us. I see all of you all. I want you all to continue to share. Again, if you want the book, make sure you type hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Dr. Robyn, here's your question. In your book, you lift up pantheism and animism as constructs to move beyond traditional theological frameworks. How was such constructs liberative for queer, trans, and gender nonconforming folks?
Yeah, this idea of pantheism is not new. I learned it 20 years ago when I was in seminary by reading Jürgen Moltmann's work, a German theologian. And there are some good things that come from white-bodied folks, and this is one of them. Pantheism really just says God is in all things. And when queer, gender nonconforming, and trans folks begin to believe that God is in us, we can change the world. We can shift our democratic body. We can shift the church. But believing that God is a challenge, because we've been told for centuries that God is not in us, that we are an aberration, we are sinful. And I'm here to say that we are good, and we are good creation, and we are becoming. And if there's anything honest about trans folks, queer folks, and gender nonconforming folks, it's that we're probably more attuned to our becoming.
Can you say more about animism?
I'm sorry?
This right, I'm going to type it.
Oh, animism. Yes. Animism is something I learned from Chicana feminist theorist Gloria Anzaldúa. And animism is something that got written out of the tradition, not canonized. And we have to ask, why did we inherit things that were not full of spirit? And that's what animism means. Animism is that all things are endowed with spirit. And if God is in all things, then maybe animism is part of our tradition that we have left.
That's powerful. Bishop Flunder?
We don't like that, because it's kind of like racism in as much as we believe that one group of people are perhaps greater than, more special, intrinsically, intellectually, just more endowed. And I say to people sometimes, because they get real upset with me, but I say that, we are just about 1% different in our DNA than chimpanzees. and we have certain cognition that they don't have, and certain ability. People say, well, they don't have a soul. But we're so close to them in an evolutionary way. We were very much like them early on. We like to believe that we were created like this, but we evolved to this. Let's just be clear about that. And if they're created by the same hands of the master creator, then they are also designers, originals. And if you've ever had your own dog or your own cat, or you can sense that there's a soul of something that is very, very much connected to the creator. Not perhaps in the same ways, because they don't have the same consciousness, but the same creator. There's something very important about that. There's something, when we begin to think that way, that we'll take better care of the planet, and we'll take better care of all living things. something very powerful, and something I think we need to keep on examining. What is the higher brain function that permits us to be religious? Because there's also a brain function in there that commits us to kill and destroy, right? And somehow or other, though that belongs in what we would consider lower parts of creation, perhaps we need to take a look at the gift that we have to be peaceful and to be loving and to be mindful, and wonder why we are not really exercising that gift more than a lot of what it is we do that is a conqueror nature and a violent nature. So I'm hearing you. It's time to talk.
Dr. Robyn? Family, we thank you for being with us on tonight. Again, please type hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Dr. Robyn, you can jump in.
I just wanted to say one thing about this because, I'm thinking about Dr. James Cone, who years ago said God is black, and everybody was in an uproar. Well, why do we think God is not black? Because we have inherited a theology of white supremacy. And so my return to more indigenous, more things that have been written out of the tradition is to respond to what we've inherited. And I think if we are not open to the Spirit, then we can continue to steward our inherited theologies that might be harming us and our neighbor.
I think at the end of the day, and you talk some about this, Dr. Robyn, about fear, and people having the courage to even do what you're doing. I think that there's always fear, right?
Yeah.
There's always fear. There's fear in coming out or inviting in,
Sure.
regardless of whatever we're going to come out at. Can you speak to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, let me just give a very real situation as a form of a prayer request. I'm very active on social media, always have been. Twitter is the most abusive relationship I've ever had. And last week, two white Christo-fascists came after me to target me. Countless people reported the tweets, but they're very sneaky. These folks are very well organized, and none of the tweets, uh, went against the community guidelines. But it's very clear that I was being targeted by Christo-fascists. So I had to, I've got tricks. I tell people, I'm like, don't fuck with me because I got tricks. And I reached out to community, including people who know something about security. Living at the end of empire is scary. And we are not meant to survive this. You know why? Because we are meant to heal it. That's the kind of theology and ethics I believe in. So yeah, there's a lot of fear. And yes, I had to make myself unlisted at this hotel where I am. But I believe that God has endowed us with wisdom and life. And that wisdom and that life comes directly from our bodies, which have been denigrated, which have been ignored, which have been erased, which have been harmed violently at times by white-bodied supremacy. And I'd like to turn our fear into courage and into bravery, because we are created to be in community and to be alive with one another.
That was powerful. We are not meant to survive it, but heal it. We are meant to heal it. So powerful. Okay, let me get to this one. You say, I want to wake up each morning in a body. We posted it for you too, that I know. But even that is up in the air as I imagine what kind of body I long to have. Say more about that.
Yeah, my autism teaches me every day. Something that really goes unnoticed because, I can think and I have a brain, and some people might say I'm high functioning, but I actually need a lot of occupational help. When the pandemic hit and my routine was disrupted, uh, I went days without showering until my partner said, "I love you, but you got to start showering." And there is this sort of search for how can I be me in a world that is indifferent to me. And so I'm on a quest to know myself and know my creative being as best as I can. And sometimes that means that I sit in silence. Sometimes that means I do a meditation. Sometimes that means I put on a reggaeton. I just am sort of interested in who I am. Like a friend of mine asked me one time, if I'm Afro Latinx, and I'm like, I mean, I've got that 3% from West Africa, but I don't know, because, and I think she asked this because of the way I roll with people, right? Because of my orientation is not to whiteness. I can present as white when I need to. I can be white passing when I need to, when I navigate the fuckery of the system. That's a technical theological term, Bishop Flunder. Just want to make sure that you knew that. But my orientation is not to the logic of whiteness. My orientation is to the logic of liberation. So when I was in Cuba and would roll deep with Cuban folks, there's something creative about that embodiment. And so I'm on a search to really sink my flesh into the wisdom that is endowed in my soma.
Bishop Flunder, Robyn, you my kind of people. That's all I got to say.
I'm down with it too, with them too, with her, him, them. I'm down with everything Robyn is right now, right? Um, what is really resonating with me in your last statement is that this one we cannot sit it out.
Right.
Everything that has happened before now was to make us ready for this time.
Right.
Every iteration, every movement, every march, every martyr, whether they were physically martyred or professionally martyred,
Right.
everything that went before us was to get us ready to this point. And I hear that. It is our job to heal it. And if we could just really see and assume our assignment, right? And it breaks down like this for me. It's not just what am I willing to live for, but what am I concerned enough that I would die for it? If that would also contribute to making real substantive change. I see the evolution of freedom, and I understand I've lived long enough to see the arc of justice move in a direction and then be pushed back a bit. Never back to where it was, but pushed back. And then it goes forward again, and then it gets pushed back a bit. Then it goes forward again, and it gets, well, it needs a huge shove right now. And it needs it because there is a enormous angst among people who are anti-justice right now, because they know that the last breath for some of these continued anti-justice binges that they've been on.
It's the death rattle. It's the death
It's
rattle.
the death rattle. They know that it's truly coming to an end in many, many ways. So it's like a madness. Let's attack what's in the school books. Let's go after women's right to choose. Let's go after the LGBTQI community. Let's do everything we can to make Christianity the national religion, conservative Christianity, the national religion of the United States. Let's shut our borders down. Let's not talk against Putin. This is what we're going to do, because we can feel essentially the death rattles to the end of this farce of manifest destiny in this nation. And I can sense that desperation. It has to be matched by our intention to heal it. This time more than any time, and that includes, by the way, chattel slavery.
Right.
More than any time in our history, it's the coming together. It's the coming together the way we are right now.
Right.
In this broadcast, and the work that we've been doing in the marches that have outmarched any marches in history. Now it is time for us to speak truth to power more powerfully than we ever have, and hold on until we heal it. I'm down with you. I want you to know you got me on that one. Yes and amen.
Well, can I just reflect on that? Because, like I said, I've got this abusive relationship called Twitter, and because I have autism, I don't have a filter, and I just say it, And let me tell you, years ago, when the defund the police campaign started, I said it, and all these white folks came after me. We need the police. And then I had to remind them that today's modern policing, there is a history. And there's a lot of historical amnesia in this country. So I had to school them on slave patrols and how, it's the same thing, it just looks different. And then they kind of backed down, when I gave them a little history lesson. And then when I said, well, we need to abolish prisons because it's not life-affirming. Prisons are not a life-affirming system. And I believe in the religion of abolition. I believe in life-affirming systems. That's why I follow Jesus. And then they came after me again. Well, how do we protect ourselves? And I said, well, you defund the police, you close the prisons, and you distribute the resources to the community and let the community do it. We don't know how to be in relationship with one another. And I said this years ago before the pandemic started. I don't know if we will survive ourselves. We are so hell-bent on systems and institutions, whether that be government, medicine, or religion. We're so hell-bent on these institutions to guide us when really they are creating hell on earth. And our job is to bring heaven to earth and to compost the bullshit. We need to remember that it was in 1954 when "In God We Trust" was put on our coins and our dollar bills. That was by design. It's 2022. I believe in a robust, pluralistic democracy. I've always been a little socialist, but I get that from Basil the Great, who said, what's in your cupboard is for the hungry. What's in your closet rotting is for those without clothes, and your shoes in the closet are for those who are too poor to buy shoes. So when people call me a socialist, I'm like, no, we've got distribution written in our tradition. So don't come for me calling me a socialist when you've not read Marx, and I know you've not read Basil the Great. He was a 4th century doctor of the church. So this, what we've got right now in this country, we've domesticated polarizations. And we've made race, which is a social construct, which is false, which is hegemonic in many respects. We've got the race conversation polarized into black and white, which makes brown people like myself indifferent. When the Black Lives Matter started, I was in my PhD program. And when the verdict against George Zimmerman was made public, I texted all of my black colleagues that I had phone numbers for. And I said, this just isn't about black folks. And yes, this country has been killing black folks for a long time. Like, let's stand together, because I believe solidarity in our differences is the only way forward. And if we don't know how to do that, then we can't heal it. Our differences are rich. And our differences, I mean, God is composed of difference because we are God. God created us so that we can become like God. That's also in the tradition. But we've written that out.
It's good. That's good. Dr. Robyn and Bishop Flunder, I was scrolling through Facebook, and this is to go to Dr. Robyn's statement with regards to we're not just meant to survive it, we're meant to heal it. So last night, the BBC reported that Mr. Zelensky, during the Ukrainian Orthodox Church Easter celebration, said the following: "Our hearts are full of fierce fury. Our souls are full of fierce hatred for the invaders and all that they have done." That is true, but it's not the truth. Here is what he actually said in a prayer: "Our hearts are full of fierce fury. Our souls are full of fierce hatred for the invaders and all that they have done. Don't let fury destroy us from within. Turn it into our accomplishments from the outside. Turn it into a force of good to defeat the forces of evil. Save us from strife and division. Don't let us lose unity. Strengthen our will and our spirit. Don't let us lose ourselves. Don't let us lose our longing for freedom. Therefore, do not let us lose our zeal for a righteous struggle. Do not let us lose hope of victory and self-esteem, and therefore our freedom, and therefore Ukraine, and therefore faith. May this be in our hearts as well." And that was the president of Ukraine that actually said that prayer. And it rang true to what you said. We're not just meant to survive it, we're meant to heal it.
Yeah, and the Ukrainian president is a very interesting person, and we should be paying close attention, because we do have to be wise as serpents right now. Wise as serpents. When I was in Charlottesville in 2017, I could feel, and I've got autism, and I'm a 5 on the Enneagram, so I don't feel very much in my body, right? I live from the shoulders up. I could feel the hate. When neo-Nazis lunged in my direction and Antifa absorbed the violence intended for me, wearing a stole that says Black Lives Matter, I could feel the hate. It's real. And we need to be very clear about how real the hate is. Now, do we want to call that evil? Hate feels very material to me right now. When the Christo-fascists came after me last week, it's very real. And I think a hallmark of whether or not the spirit is moving is whether how attentive we are to the truth tellers who may not look like us, who may not have an embodiment like us, who may not speak in a civil or sanitized way. They may say fuck, shit, and damn. We need to be attuned to the spirit. My partner grew up Unitarian and then as an adult fell in love with Jesus. I think that's the Holy Spirit. No shade to the Unitarians, but my point is, are we attuned to the Spirit? And can we hear the still small voice? And if we can, then we need to be listening to those truth tellers.
Thank you, Dr. Robyn. Bishop Flunder?
So much truth in this. You made me reflect on what is this responsibility again that we have in this time, and I was thinking about church as a hiding place, where everybody kind of sort of stays with the dress code and sings the same hymns and rocks in the same direction. You know what I mean? It is a private social club of a sort with uniform, and uniformity. And I think about it because this call to move out and to do something and to be healers means that we have to come out of hiding, first of all. And then understand what community action really is and the holiness of community action. And I'll go a little step further. In terms of where we are situated, a lot of us are situated in the inner city in some way and called to the inner city. I call it the third world of the United States. And in the inner city, when there is a problem, our tendency, back to what you said, Dr. Robyn, a moment ago, is to call the police. We go call the police because there's a problem. In this time of housing insecurity and food insecurity and job insecurity, there are people that are resorting to all sorts of survival techniques. That's a part of what we're experiencing in the third world of the United States. And so everyone wants to call the police. And we've had some interesting inner city experiences in the places where I serve, and many of our pastors are serving. You call the police, and the police are often nonchalant these days in coming. And when they do, many times it moves to violence. Let's push it that way. We needed to address, let me just say this by word of testimony, we needed to address housing insecurity, food insecurity, mental and emotional health, and drug use, all at the same time, because there are so many people, particularly in California, who are on the street, living on the street, and in any way possible trying to do that because it's too expensive to go inside and it is too painfully difficult to be in institutions. And so what they will do is live on the street all kind of ways. I'll say this way. There was a point in which we realized, except for situations where there was real potential for bodily harm, that what we needed to do is organize as a community. What are we going to do? And we pulled together a community meeting. I think you may understand what I'm saying. And we talked about what we could do with and for one another. But it also meant having actual conversations and engaging people and stop treating the people who we felt problematic for our causes, treating them as though they were other than human. This is somebody's daughter, somebody's son, somebody's sister, somebody's brother, somebody's sibling, someone who needed care. And what we realized is that we have to get out there with them. So I'll make a long story short. I have a name in my community. My name is Church Lady. And they see me coming, they say, "Here come Church Lady." And we exchange each other's name. I tell them what my name is, but they end up being Church Lady. We talk about it. We talk about what we can do. We feed them. We test them. We get them inoculated if that's their desire as it relates to this pandemic. We help them to find support for food and housing. I can't tell you how many times now we have gathered. And we also gather with other people who have businesses and entrepreneurial and other around us, and we talk about where is the connection between us and the folks who are housing insecure and food insecure. It means we got to have some human conversations, and let's talk about and not objectify. Let's talk about our problems and not objectify. And since we've begun to do that and do it without fear and without judgment, we have exchanged in incredible ways with people who have incredible skills and can do wonderful things.
You have that mobile shower unit.
Absolutely. And food and COVID, inoculations where folks desire to have it, and finding housing for people, and we haven't had to call the police nearly as much.
Yeah.
It's the truth, because we've become human. We have to heal it.
Yeah.
It's not us and them. It's just us.
Yeah.
And any day, any one of us can be those that we have called them.
Right.
It can happen just that quickly. What you're saying takes us back to your original statement. What is our responsibility? Pray this, Jesus said, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We are responsible to bring the realm of God into the earth. And I feel that very deeply. That's the pushback. Now, that's very different than our communities over here, your communities over there. Your stuff don't touch my stuff because we're superior to you, and that you should want essentially to excel and become who it is that we are and what it is that we have. The call is clear and very succinct. And I can hear the Spirit of God saying, now go thou and do likewise.
Right.
Yes, and amen.
I just want to respond to policing and neighborhoods. We all are living, many of us, paycheck to paycheck, and we are, all of us really one paycheck away from being on the streets. And, being a theologian, being a religious leader, is not going to build any kind of mansion on earth, which means that we are close to struggle. And two stories I want to share. One is my partner and I work with Open Table Nashville, which is a ministry dedicated to serving our friends on the streets. And we work very hard to de-escalate and not involve the police, because the police criminalize sleeping on the streets, and that bill just got passed in the state legislature in Tennessee. So now we're up against another battle, the criminalization of being homeless. Are you kidding me? There's the wealth disparity in this country, the fact that we even have a homeless population in this country is appalling. So we are close to struggle. The other story I want to say is when I was leaving the Society of Christian Ethics back in 2018, or maybe it was early 2019, I got pulled over by the Kentucky State Police. And I wear a hoodie that says Activist Theology, and I wear a Black Lives Matter pin, or I did on that hoodie. And the Kentucky State Police made me lift up my clothes and prove I didn't have a weapon, and then asked me if I was a terrorist. So this antagonism by these systems. And then they searched my car, they brought the dogs and everything. It was really awful. But these systems, the antagonism is designed to get a reaction out of us. And then we get blamed for responding. And And so, I've never really trusted the police ever, but I'm certainly not going to call them when white crystal fascists come after me, because what are they going to do? And so I'm big into community policing, if we want to call it that. But we do so much policing of women of color and the wisdom of women of color. I don't even want to use that word. But I believe in community solidarity. And Bishop Flunder, what you've been doing at City of Refuge is activist theology. It's getting your hands dirty in the world. And so, we're trying to do that as a collaboration with a dominant culture to help white-bodied folks get their hands dirty with the wounds of the world. And it's not easy.
And if you don't make friends, if we don't become community, we'll not win this.
Right.
And my truth is, I got a couple of police officers who I am on first name basis with that are around in my neighborhood. And I had to make friends to some degree with them.
Right.
When I call you, I need you to answer me, because it's an emergency if I call you.
Right.
That somebody's life is really in danger. And I need to know that you're going to come. And I need to know that you're going to come with empathy and trust me. I want you to trust me when I say you have to come.
Right.
Because I have somebody laying in the bush who is very, very sick.
Yeah.
And now has been attacked by a couple of rats, and the wound has maggots in it.
Yeah.
So I need you to bring that truck that you can bring, the one that looks like a fire truck, and it is emergency service. And I need you to come quickly because he's really in trouble. And I need you to give me a restraining order so that I can keep him in a hospital for a period of time,
right,
where he can't come back, if you understand, until we can figure out some other way to serve him. What I'm saying is that all of these dots have to be connected, but it is the community, not the institutions, that can make these dots connected. The owner of the properties, the local police who will work with you, the fire department, the cities, the counties, the state. It has to be a grassroots effort from the bottom up.
Right.
That is, and I will go a step further, Dr. Robyn. That's what we need to be teaching in our seminaries, right?
Oh, that's right. That's how it goes.
This is what it is going to take to connect the dots.
That's right.
These people could care less about dead Germans who wrote books. I'm telling you, these people need what it is that you are talking about. That is the holy work of the time in which we live. And I bless God for you. That's the theology for this time.
Well, the Activist Theology Project, I think about it as theological education 2.0, theology outside of the walls of academia, theology that doesn't acquiesce to the self-perpetuating elitism of the academy.
What's the website, Dr. Robyn?
Activisttheology.com with one T. Activists and theology go together. Because I believe when you look at Jesus, he outfoxed the empire. His whole 33 years, he outfoxed the empire. It was only when he allowed himself to be found that the state executed him.
That's it.
So our job, and I believe everyone's a theologian, even our babies. Our job as theologians, as community theologians, is to outfox the empire, to be wise as a serpent. That's why I code switch all the time. We walked into a doctor's appointment a couple weeks ago. We're patients at Vanderbilt. They're hyper competent, full of white supremacy. But I want to make sure that my partner is going to be okay. So I'm talking to the person who is running the front desk, who is a Black woman. And so I code switch and I say, hey, what do you think about this doctor? They treat you okay? And we had rapport very quickly. And she could read me in what I was asking. We have to find those people.
That's
Learn how to code switch with the people who are in these systems who are deeply compromised by the system. We internalize the bullshit,
Yes.
and then we deposit it in our communities, and we
That's
need to
right.
stop doing that.
Yeah.
That's good. This is good. I love this. We could go on and on and on, but I'm going to get a final statement from Bishop Flunder and Dr. Robyn, whatever order you all want to go in. I want a final word that you want to say to the people. Remember, everybody, if you want the book, you are typing hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. That's hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. The book is Body Becoming, A Path to Our Liberation. Body Becoming, A Path to Our Liberation. Hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Dr. Robyn, then Bishop Flunder.
Yeah, I'd love to give Bishop Mother the final word.
Mhm.
Okay.
Here is my penultimate word.
Mhm.
We've got to live our truths, and they don't need to be sanitized or civil. Jesus was a disruptor. Jesus got angry. Why do we police women of color and trans people of color for their anger? Why do we police out the imagination of our young people? We've got to get our hands dirty, and we've got to invite our white counterparts to get their hands dirty.
Yes.
And I think learning to do life together, as Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote, is the only way forward. There is a history of Christian community, of Jesus followers, whatever you want to call them. There is a history of being able to do life together. The vocation of the theological community is where it is. And I want to be part of the rear guard, not a talking head, but I
Yeah.
want to be part of that community who's getting their hands dirty, who's close to struggle, and who are stewarding the logic of liberation.
Hallelujah.
Wonderful. Yes.
Hallelujah. Well, I will end with this because it's very attached to why, after my exile, I came back to fully embrace my role as a faith leader. And so I wrestle with this particular passage of scripture often, but it is the underpinning. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but God has given us a spirit of power and love and good sense, a sound mind. And I believe that if we will embrace that, it will first of all exorcise our fear and trepidation. But it will also make us understand that what we are called to, we have the power and we have the love and we have the training. We have the soundness of mind, the ability to make good decisions and informed decisions. And that is what we are called to do in this time. I pray that we will not function out of fear, which is what I am watching the conservative right doing terror work right now, because of the fear of the loss of power. But God has given unto us a spirit of power that is painted by or touched by or informed by love and good sense. I am very, very happy that we had this opportunity to share. And I'm looking for you to come and be with us in just a few days. We'll see if we can rearrange some rearrangements to get you to come and spend some time with us. I'm surely looking forward to that. And if we are not able to make it happen because of conflict,
I'm hoping that you all are still with me. Bishop Flunder froze in the end, but I know that you all can still hear. Bishop?
I'm unfrozen. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to our being together in our next meeting. So
Yes.
that's the only part you missed. Be encouraged.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you all so much for joining us on Beyond the Gatekeepers tonight. It was a fabulous show. Wonderful. Remember, you can always go back and re-watch the broadcast by going to Beyond the Gatekeepers page or Bishop Yvette Flunder's page, and you will see it again. Again, we want to thank Dr. Robyn Henderson-Espinoza for being here with us. We look forward to hearing more about your work and experiencing more of your great ministry.
Thank you.
So Beyond the Gatekeepers, you're going to stay with us. We got a few announcements that we like to make. Bishop Flunder.
Good evening again, everyone. I'm looking forward to the support that is so needed as we continue to grow and expand. I know you have been blessed by Beyond the Gatekeepers, and I want to encourage you. To support our broadcast by sending a donation via Cash App to $TFAM Annual, TFAM Annual, or to PayPal, www.paypal.me/TFAM Justice. Please help support the ongoing work and ongoing ministry of Beyond the Gatekeepers. Thank you, and God bless.
Save the date, July 12th through the 16th, 2022. Have we got good religion? TFAM Leadership Conference 2022. Bishop Flunder is our presiding prelate, and we are going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, again, July 12th through the 16th at the Arizona Biltmore Resort, which is a Frank Lloyd Wright property in Phoenix, Arizona. We have a room rate of $119 per night. We have about 20 rooms left. If you need to register, early registration is over. It ended May 1st. Our registration price now is $125. It ends July 1st. Please go to the website to get the information, www.radicallyinclusive.com, and you can find out more information about the fellowship. You can register. You can book your hotel. We are excited, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, Bullet in Flight Radio. And we have Antonio Mattier, the lifestyle realtor. He says, donate to your church, give to your church while accomplishing your goal of home ownership. Lifestyle Global Properties will donate 10% of the commission earned from your real estate transaction to your choice of COR, which stands for City of Refuge, or TFAM, which stands for the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, in your name when you utilize their brokerage to purchase or sell a property, residential or commercial, in California or Georgia. Please look him up on the website. You will find www.antoniomatier.com. RIM Virtual Experience, TNT Tuesday Night Talks, RIM Fellowship, United Church of Christ. They are inviting you every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for everyday, real, relevant, Bible-led conversations. Please go to their website at www.rimatlanta.org. You can find them on Facebook, RIM Fellowship UCC, Instagram, RIM Fellowship, and YouTube, RIM Fellowship UCC. Their senior pastor is Bishop-Elect Sonia E. Williams. Nubian Flunder, LAC and founder of the Healing Place Apothecary. This is our presiding bishop's daughter. She has her own company called the Healing Place Apothecary. If you want to purchase products, please go to www.thpapothecary.com. That's thehealingplaceapothecary.com to make your purchase. Support Black businesses. And Sky Michelle's Teas and Things, where a kid is the boss. please go to www.skymichelle.com. She has collections of t-shirts, rhinestone t-shirts, dope black t-shirts, faith t-shirts, YA Flunder quotes, Kara motivational t-shirts, and she does customization of t-shirts and mugs and whatever else you need. Follow this little girl on Facebook and Instagram at I am Sky Michelle. Support Black businesses. Kara Solutions. Focus on your passion. Let Kara handle the rest. This is owned and operated and founded by Susan A. Webley, who's also helping us in the tech area of the show on tonight. She does remote production and video conferencing, admin, tech support, custom branding, show development and training on Zoom, StreamYard, Restream, and more. If you need more information about the wide range of services, please visit her website at www.kara-solutions.com. If you want a consultation for free, email sue@kara-solutions.com. Please support Black businesses. If you want to advertise with Beyond the Gatekeepers, please let us know by emailing us at beyondthegatekeepersshow@gmail.com. That's beyondthegatekeepersshow@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us on tonight. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you being here with us. We want to give away those 5 books like we promised. And so you have typed hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers, and here we go. Our first winner is Sandra Bishop. Sandra Bishop, if you are on, please go to the inbox of the Beyond the Gatekeepers page. Go to the inbox of Beyond the Gatekeepers page. Make sure that you give us your name and your address. Rain Thunderword Cohen is the winner. This is the second book, Rain Thunderword Cohen. If you are watching, please go to the inbox of the Beyond the Gatekeepers page, type your name and your city, state, and address to which your book is to be mailed. Thank you so much for your support. Third winner. Melissa McQueen Simmons is the winner tonight. Melissa McQueen Simmons. Sister, please go to our inbox, type your name, your address, and we're going to make sure you get your book. Thank you so much for your support. Congratulations. Carlton E. Smith. Carlton E. Smith, you are the winner. Please go to our inbox, Beyond the Gatekeepers page, type your name and your address so that we can get your book to you. Thank you. I think it's last but not least. Melinda Love. Dr. Melinda, we appreciate you so much out of St. Louis. You are the winner tonight. Please make sure you type your name and your address, and so that we can make sure we get the book out to you. Thank you all for watching. God bless you. Make sure that you sign on to our Facebook page and to the Beyond the Gatekeepers Facebook page so that you can be kept abreast of what's going on. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Have a great night.